Kathleen is in Warwickshire. Kathleen, you're very welcome to TalkTV. What would you like to say?
Good morning. I agree with everything you say. I think this country is going to hell in a handcart. We have got a load of eunuchs in the government that do nothing. We're letting everybody in. Nobody knows who they are. Nobody knows where they come from. Nobody gives a damn.
Where is the political leadership, Kathleen? Where is the Prime Minister today? Where is the Prime Minister telling us what he is going to do to get a handle on this ridiculous situation? That's what I want to know.
He's not going to do anything. He's got no balls, and no the rest of them. I'm sorry, they're all eunuchs.
What do you think needs to happen, Kathleen, in terms of what the police do? We've got this this parade on Remembrance Day next Saturday. Should it be banned? What do you think should happen?
I think the whole of the Palestinian pro-Palestinians should be banned. My granddad fought in the war. My dad was in it all through the war. And what have we left them? What have they left us with? A wonderful country. And now there's no great in Britain at all. It's just Britain, and it's a dump. I'm sorry.
You're feeling emotional about this, Kathleen?
I really am. I've got 2 little great grandkids, and I'm 79. What am I leaving them? I wish I'd never had kids. I've lost 2 of my children. And now what am I leaving my grandkids and great-grandkids too? And my friend Verna in Norwich is exactly the same. She has 2 grandkids. And we look around and I think, what did our parents fight for? I mean, I was a nurse for over 40 years. And everything has gone down the pan.
Kathleen, Kathleen, thank you so much for your thoughts. I think Kathleen sums up what a lot of people are feeling this morning. They may not feel as emotional as Kathleen does, but there is a lot of emotion around, Peter, isn't there? There's a lot of people who are really, really worried. Peter, I want to go to Spike in Suffolk, who's given me a call on 0344 499 1000, as many other people have as well. Get your call in. We'll take as many as we can between now and 1 o'clock. Spike, I understand you're a former sergeant yourself. Is that correct?
Yes, that's true, mate. I'm not from the same sort of height as Peter Bletchley or Mike Neville, both who I respect and their opinions, but I was just a mere street sergeant specialising in public order.
So you know all about this. You know all about how to deal with these kind of people. What's your assessment of the last 24 hours or so in terms of what's going on, especially in London, but there are other parts of Britain that are, of course, affected by this as well?
Well, my assessment, my message is we cannot stop them. And I know that's not going to be very popular, but when you do the maths, you've got 34,000 coppers in a Met. Now, many of those will be detectives, they'll be in training, they'll be probationers. They won't be riot-trained, like the Level 2s and TSG, which I was part of. And so what you're going to end up with is a few thousand officers, which you can't deploy day after day after day. And you have to deploy in shifts anyway. So you've got a demonstration by anybody, really, which is 100,000 people. So, we're straight away, we're on a back foot and we're outnumbered. Now, many years ago, a mayor of London went out and he bought water cannon. Mm-hmm. And we have got rubber bullets. Now, another mayor came along and sold off those water cannon at a massive discount.
With those 1,300 officers to police the people yesterday, not all of whom were violent, of course, but a significant minority of which clearly were. Is that enough? Does that strike you as enough?
No, the whole system's not enough. Because once you make an arrest, if it's a violent arrest, you're looking at up to 6 officers to make that arrest and get them away into the Pixie vans, which is the vans that you take. And there's not the custody space to put them in. Yeah. It's a very difficult situation because you've still got to prove the offence and go to court with them. And it's very difficult in a public order situation. It's easier now, we've got cameras, but it's still very difficult to prove the offence, the points to prove. I'm sure Peter will elaborate on.
Yeah, well, let's get Peter's perspective on what you've been saying there, Spike. What do you think of what he's just said, Peter?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Spike for his public service. And secondly, he does raise a lot of very valid points, that the police will always be hugely outnumbered, of course. That is somewhat tempered by the fact that many of the protesters are entirely peaceful. But the growing minority of people who are clearly out there spoiling for a fight would appear to be growing. And that is borne out by the increasing number of arrests that's happening week on week and the escalating bad behaviour. Yes, Spike raises a very good point that every time police officers make arrests, they, of course, are taken away from policing that protest. So the police reduce their effectiveness. And that may be some of the reasons why the police have chosen to identify people after the event and then arrest them some days later.
Yeah.
So it is complex. Public order policing is complex. Do we want the French model? Do we want water cannon, rubber bullets, tear gas on the streets of London? I think perhaps your viewers and listeners might have a view on that.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Peter. I'm listening to this debate now and what you're having now in the studio. I think basically there's a couple of issues here. We're a country of free speech. And, okay, everybody's got a right to demonstrate if they disagree with anything, and I think that's only fair and proper. But a lot of these people marching don't even know what they're marching about.
How do you know that?
The Israelis have reacted the way they have because basically what happened in Israel at the beginning of last month was basically equivalent to what happened in New York on September the 11th. They're reacting to an attack by terrorists. The terrorists, they've got millions and millions of dollars. They're keeping the oil. But
Bob, how do you know what's going through the mind of every single person on that march? There may well be people, as I say, who support Hamas, but there are lots of people, I'm sure, who just, I wouldn't go on that march personally, but there are lots of people who are there for perfectly legitimate reasons. They feel that Israel is the aggressor. They perhaps feel that the bombing should stop in Gaza. They don't want innocent civilians to be killed, and they feel that going on this march is the best way of making that point, perhaps.
Yeah, but I think they ought to get a little bit of education. That's a try.
Oh, Bob, you still there?
To say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, just make your final point again. With just the line dropped there.
Okay, yeah, it's just a lot of people, I agree with what they're doing and why they want to go on the march, but their march shouldn't be on Remembrance Sunday, for God's sake, and I think it's disgraceful that they're even contemplating it doing on that day.
Should we ban it, or should we try to persuade them to stop it, do you think?
I think they should persuade them, basically, or basically make the whole area where the Remembrance Sunday parade is taking place a no-go area. If they want to go and demonstrate in Hyde Park,
it kind of would be anyway, Bob, especially on the Sunday. I mean, the march is happening on the Saturday rather than the Sunday, but certainly the cenotaph, I mean, you've loads of VIPs there. You've got the King, you've got the Prime Minister and so on. I mean, you can't get close to that, really, or that close to it, certainly. So you make some good points. Well, William, you're very welcome to the programme. What would you like to say? What do you think about this march?
Well, I think the march should be banned, quite honestly. I mean, it's a Remembrance Day. I mean, not for anti-this and anti-that. And they just to Palestine. Palestine voted Hamas in, so it's their government that killed Israeli people.
That was 20 years ago, though. Do you think they still agree with that now?
Sorry?
That was nearly 20 years ago that Hamas were voted in. Do you think the people of the Gaza Strip would still vote for Hamas now, do you think?
I think they still would vote for them, yes, because it didn't matter. I said, I'm not religious, but it didn't matter who stays next to Palestine, whether Catholic, Protestants or anything. They don't recognise any religion but their own. They don't recognise anybody apart from the Muslims.
In terms of the march itself, William, would banning it not just cause more problems? Would that not just be more difficult?
I don't like anything getting banned, but at the end of the day, it's common sense. You put two sparks together. It's going to end up causing a race war if people start attacking people at the Remembrance Day. I hope it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But I know in Glasgow they're going to put it away, they're going to put it up in London. Because it's happened a few times in Glasgow and Georgia Square where Republicans that came down to the Remembrance Day and have been a mighty fight with young people. It just causes a lot of problems.
Okay, William, thank you. Owen is, I think, in Budapest in Hungary. Owen, what would you like to say on this?
Good morning, Peter.
Morning.
Well, yeah, I am in Budapest. I'm originally from Stoke-on-Trent.
Okay.
And the point I made was that, and I'm not saying this to be controversial or edgy. I've thought about this a lot. I think if you go to a pro-Palestinian or a peace march, or however they want to brand what they're doing on Armistice Day, you should really think about leaving the country, because that is spitting in the face of everyone who has served this country, who have lost family members defending the country. To have the
surely people who've defended this country, Owen, want the freedom to disagree.
I completely appreciate your point, but there's a time and a place for these things, and Armistice Day is not that time. As a foreigner myself, one of the first things you notice when you live abroad is that certain things are quite important to the locals, and if you don't want to be ostracized and spend all your time with just expat communities, you don't do those sorts of things. Like Hungary has its own national days for certain things, and independence from the Habsburg Empire and from the Soviet Union, things like that. And whether you think it's absurd or it's a bit silly, whatever, you just keep your opinions to yourself. And going to the point where, because I've been listening to your show this morning, I really like the fact that people don't seem to want the government to get involved and ban this protest, but the protesters themselves should think about how this is going to...
Well, I think we have to appeal to them, but Owen, I see Ed over here bristling. Ed Campbell, journalist at Politics Joe. Tell us what you think about what Owen is saying. Just have a chat with him there, Ed.
Hi, Owen. Yeah, I think I disagree with the sentiment that you should be voluntarily deported if you attend a pro-Palestinian march on Armistice Day. I think, well, if you think that soldiers died for our freedoms, and there's obviously a debate about whether they died in an imperial war in World War I rather than...
Let's not get into that now. Let's not get into that now.
Probably don't have time for that.
But well, I strongly disagree with you, but let's not get into that now.
But surely we live in a democracy. We don't... obviously, the government has become very recently quite anti-protest. I'd say there's been quite restrictive anti-protest bills, and I don't think on one day they can suspend people's democratic rights. I think.
What do you think? What do you think of that, Owen?
If I understood his point correctly, I think I agree with him, because if I understand correctly, because I couldn't quite make out everything that he said, that it was the government has become quite anti-protest recently.
Yeah, he said that. Yeah.
There. It should not be the government that steps in and says you shouldn't have this protest. There was going to be one here in Budapest a couple of weeks ago when this conflict first broke out, and the government said, if you attend this protest, then we're going to deport you. No, I think that's far too heavy-handed. It's completely the wrong
thing. But you
thing.
did say earlier that people should voluntarily leave the country if they want to be part of this protest.
They should think about going to a different country.
But why?
If you can't see how doing that on that day is going to lose you a lot of support. The people that are middle of the ground, the people that can see both sides. If you protest on Armistice Day, you're going to lose them. And I think it's a very, very poor timing and a poor choice of location to do this in London on Armistice Day. I think it's all about optics, unfortunately, and I think if you don't appreciate that this is something that is very important to the British people, then you should probably think about going and living somewhere else, because you're clearly not part of the British society. If you don't understand the importance of Armistice Day
as well. Let's talk to David in Glasgow. David, what do you make of this march? What do you think? Should it happen? Should it not?
Good morning, Peter. Hope you're well.
Yes, you too. Nice to talk to you, David.
Good. Yes. So, listen, we got told several weeks ago that by the intelligence service that there was an increase of threat. So I don't understand why we're even having these marches, but put that to one side. Any protest like this has to be approved by the authorities, police, fire, all the rest of it, yeah?
Yeah.
If it's been approved, why? Because it's obviously said we're going to hold it on this day, Armistice Day. So if it has been approved, why? If it hasn't been approved, then the police can just simply stop it.
Do you think it should be banned, David? Do you think the police should say, no, actually, no, it's not happening on this day? I mean, they've allowed it for 3 weeks previously.
Well, there was a case of, I think about a week and a half ago, there was an Israeli march, that side of the equation, we'll put it that way, and they were told that they weren't allowed to go into a certain area because it would be too close to the Palestinian marches. So the police are obviously making decisions based on risk, and therefore this group of people who say, we're going to hold this march on this particular day, i.e. Armistice Day, if the police have approved it, and I can't find out if they have or haven't.
I don't think they have yet, actually, and it's very interesting, David, actually, because the Prime Minister has written to Mark Rowley, so Mark Rowley, the Metropolitan Police Commissioner. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, here's the question as well, Peter. It's what I can't find anywhere, is why is it not been approved or disapproved as yet? Because every single march that I've been on for various activities, whatever, it's been months in the planning.
Yeah. What have you marched for, David?
Well, different things, but we had what do you call its name? The asylum thing was one of the big things, with the asylum things. But again, all these marches have to, if they're vast numbers of people approving, they all have to be approved.
Yeah, and it does take a long time, David. I think you make some really good points there. Janice, you're very welcome to the programme. What point would you like to make?
Oh, good morning, Peter. Firstly, the first thing I'd like to say is that Israel is absolutely playing into Hamas's hands.
Why is that, do you think?
Coming out on the news is like, it's looking vengeful now. And you cannot, and with Hamas, you will not kill an ideology. All they're going to do is blitz the whole thing to the ground. Hamas is going to clear off to other countries, and Israel is just going to be blamed for thousands upon thousands of deaths. And this is Netanyahu's fault, and America, because he was asleep at the wheel.
What should they do? What should Israel do?
I just finished that little bit. He was too busy trying to reform his justice system, and he was asleep at the wheel. And now he's clinging on by his fingertips, and he wants to show all his people that he's going to do something for them.
What should Israel do? How should it defend itself? Because it's interesting, actually.
Like that.
Sorry?
Stop the bombing. They're bombing.
Okay. Janice?
Go under look, there's 300 miles of tunnels. Get the women and children. This is so playing into Hamas's hands, and people are believing it. They could get those women and children in the tunnels. He's got food. He's got oil. They've got everything. They're just depriving the people, and it's looking terrible. And they'll get hated.
Okay, Janice, thank you very much for your perspective on that. Sylvia is in Portsmouth. Sylvia, I think you've given us a ring about this Remembrance Day march. What do you think of that, Sylvia? You're very welcome to the programme.
Good morning, Peter. I think it should go ahead. I mean, for what it is, I come from a military family. My grandfather, my father, and my husband have been in the military. They gave their lives. And why should we not do it? They couldn't say, no, we're not going to fight to save our country and save the people. It should go ahead.
So this is, in your view, perhaps, Sylvia, people using the freedoms that your family fought for?
Yeah, I'm prisoner. They were a prisoner at war. They suffered a lot more. I should think we should remember them.
Yes.
Definitely, and I think our government should do something to help.
So this march itself, what's your view on that, on the pro-Palestinian march?
Well, that should be stopped.
Okay.
I mean, if they go looking, I'm sure some of their family were saved by our men.
But what about the freedoms that your relatives fought for? What about the freedom to protest, the freedom to disagree? Should that not be respected as well? You
can protest, yes, certain things, but not for what they're protesting. Encouraging war. I mean, it's not right.
Okay. Sylvia, thank you for your thoughts. That's Sylvia in Portsmouth. William is in the West Midlands. Has given me a call on 0344 499 1000. William, you're very welcome to the programme. What would you like to say?
Good morning. I'm a first-time caller.
Oh, great. You're very welcome.
It's about the march, obviously next week.
Yeah.
I've been going to the cenotaph in my area ever since I can remember with my father, to put flowers on my grand's first husband's name and a son who I'm named after, who died in the Japanese prisoner of war camp.
Goodness me. Yeah.
What we used to go up, which I learned as I got older, it's not about Remembrance Day is not about glorifying war.
Absolutely not. No, it's about remembering the sacrifice. You're absolutely right.
It's about remembering all our loved ones who died in all around the world during the fighting of the wars. And I lost a friend who was blown up by terrorists in 1974 in Ireland.
I'm so sorry to hear that, William. There's a lot to think about at this time of year, isn't there?
A close friend. All these things go through your mind during Remembrance Day.
Yeah.
What I wanted to try and explain is it's all about if the organisers of this march are genuine protesters for stopping the war, which I totally agree with. I want this war to stop. I do think the Israelis have gone way over the top, but it's all about morality. If the organisers are not terrorists, surely they've got enough morality to say, let the British people remember their loved ones who died in the war.
And do it the next Saturday. Just do it the next Saturday. It's simple, isn't it, William? You make some really good points. It's your first call, William, but don't make it your last one. Thank you very much for giving us a call, 0344 499 1000. Anthony is in Quarry Bank. Where is Quarry Bank, Anthony? My English geography is dreadful. Where's that?
It's in Brawley, West Midlands.
Oh, right, okay. So another person from the West Midlands. William's from the West Midlands as well. So tell us what you think about this.
Well, have they had permission for a start? It's our Sunday. It's our day on Sunday.
It's actually going to be on the Saturday. The march is going to be on the Saturday. So the 11th is Remembrance Day itself, and then the Sunday is Remembrance Sunday. So it would actually be the Saturday that the march takes place.
Yeah, but how much money is all this costing policing and everything else? You know what I mean?
It's a very fair point. Do you think it should go ahead?
No, it shouldn't go ahead. But we shouldn't have nothing to do with this, like what's going on in Israel or in countries like that. And Hamas have nothing but just, you know what I mean?
They're horrible people, Anthony. But what about the right to protest? What about the fact that people will say, you know, it's one of our freedoms here in this country to protest and to disagree with one another?
What about the National Front? Can they protest and stuff like that, and other people protest? Say our people now have a go at them protesting all the while. We shouldn't have this in our country. Why don't they go and do it in their own country?
Okay, Anthony, thanks. Of course, there may well be people who are from this country. Well, there are people who are from this country who are there as well. It's not just foreigners. Charles, who is in Suffolk, has given me a call as well. Charles, what do you make of this?
Oh, good morning.
Yeah, morning, hiya.
Ex-Scouser living in Suffolk. I'm just phoning up to maybe get this on the table. It appears from the actions of the police over the last couple of weeks, where policing by inactivity has become the norm.
It's a good phrase for it, Charles. I'm going to use that again. Your fee will be 0p.
Really, it's a lot of it is concerned, I think, with the level of, well, you could say politicisation.
Yeah.
As long as they're under the control of the local authority. Specifically mentioning one Mr. Khan.
Yes.
Now, I'd just like to get it on the table to maybe look at the French model, where they have local police. They're the gendarmerie.
Yeah.
And they're under the control of the local authority. But also, they have the CRS, the National Crowd Control and Riot Police, who are under central control.
That's interesting. Okay.
In our situation, that would be the Home Secretary directing the police.
Yeah, there is the National Crime Agency, but that's not the same thing. That's not a national sort of police force. Do you think that perhaps the French model of doing these things might be a better idea?
I think normally I would say yes. I would say no, but we're not in normal times.
Yeah.
I've never seen the police as politicised as they are now.
They're definitely very politicised, Charles. There's a lot of political policing. Charles, I really appreciate your point. It's a really interesting one, actually, something I hadn't thought of before, so thank you for that. Heather is in Kings Lynn. Heather, you're very welcome to the programme. Good morning.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. What would you like to say?
Well, I think we all should stand for Jews. Richie should let us have Remembrance Day for us. Richie can't stop. He can stop the protesting. Why do they want millions on that day? And if they think so much of their country, why don't they go back?
Well, there'll be people from this country in the march as well. It's not just foreigners, Heather. But you think perhaps that weekend should just be sacred and should be left to the remembrance events, perhaps?
Yeah, I do. Richie don't care about our country. We need a good president. You can see what they're like. So let's have reform.
Okay.